Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing? We've got Ali with us today, who's recently moved back from North America. He used to be based out of Dubai many years ago, and he got into real estate business in North America. Ali has been with us for the last 4 months now, venturing into the exciting field of real estate. So we just want to sit here and understand a bit about what's the experience been like in the Dubai real estate market. How's it been, different from the Canadian real estate and the North American market? And what are some of the things that newcomers should basically be aware of or look out for?
Right.
So, just enlighten us a bit about what's your experience been like.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thanks. Firstly, thanks for pushing me to do this podcast. This is my very first podcast ever. Podcasts are all the rage, and it's cool to be finally doing it, getting into it.
Yeah, welcome to Dubai.
So, yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
So just a bit of background about me. I grew up in Dubai all through the 80s and 90s, and then my family and I migrated to Canada in the mid-late 90s. And I came and went. And I've seen Dubai transform and evolve over the years from when it was, it was a very modest city, very young, modest city, to what it is today. And it's incredible. Dubai is the kind of city where you go away for 6 months or 3 months for vacation, the summer vacation, because most people leave during the summer. And you come back and there's there's several new high rises and new flyovers. And so it's really incredible to see how much it's developed and grown. Now I moved back in December 2023 and fell back into real estate. So I built my real estate career in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, Western Canada. I ran my own team over there, and I was fortunate. The market was in my favor. The Canadian real estate market was really hot when I started out in 2016. And I was lucky to have the right mentorship, the right sales training early on. And so things went in my favor. Now, I chose to leave Canada for a lot of reasons, and came back to Dubai. If I list those reasons for you, where do we start? Tax efficiencies here, you don't pay income tax here. Even corporate tax is lower than North America. In Canada, the corporate tax rate was 12%, whereas here it's only 9%. Of course, income tax is a big one. I was incorporated in Canada, so I set up my business in a tax efficient way. But still, any income you take out is still taxed at the income tax rate. Any money you take out of your corporation, so you're still paying that income tax. You can't avoid it entirely. And everything is taxed, and they've got taxes on taxes. Like you've got property taxes, annual property taxes, which are 1.5% of the value of the property every year. You've got gas taxes. There's all kinds of taxes. So when it adds up, the average Canadian household pays close to, I think, 70% of their income. Don't quote me on this, but it's a really big number.
That's massive.
Yeah. So 70% of your household income goes to taxes. And those are all kinds of taxes. Again, be it property tax or income tax or whatever, city taxes, whatever other taxes. Climate, of course, is a big one. Dubai's warm and sunny year round, and I'm like a lizard. I like to be in the sun, so that was a big one for me. In fact, in Canada, in Vancouver specifically, we have a very gloomy. The climate is very wet and gloomy for most of the year. And so I used to get seasonal affective disorder. I used to sit in front of a lamp, one of those, they call them SAD lamps, seasonal affective disorder, the acronym. They're called SAD lamps, which is very sad. But a lot of Canadians sit in front of these lamps because it kind of gives you the same kind of effect as being in the sun, because you don't see, in Western Canada, the Pacific Northwest, you don't get very much sun. So you go, 8 to 10 months of the year with very little sun exposure, and it takes a toll on us. And then all the other things, safety. When I had my kids, it changed the whole equation for me. We'd take the kids to the park. You can't take your eyes off your children for more than 15, 20 seconds. drugs was an issue, crime, the quality of life was declining. Why I chose to move back to Dubai.
A good choice. In
I
hindsight, a
believe-
good choice to make it back, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I believe it's the best choice I could have made. They say the grass isn't greener, and in my humble opinion, the grass is greener here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is I want to pick Ali's brain a bit in regards to both elements. Ali has been in the real estate business as a business owner, and he's also been a real estate investor in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
He's moved back to Dubai, and again, he's been a real estate investor in Dubai, and he's also now in the business of real estate in Dubai. So I want to understand, like, what's the different elements that he's looking at? Like, what was the experience like investing into real estate in Canada, and what was the experience like investing into real estate in Dubai? And then taking it further, what was the experience like doing real estate business in Canada, and what's the difference like doing real estate business in Dubai?
Right, that's a lot to cover. Where shall I start? Let's talk about
whichever element that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, let's start by talking about being a real estate agent or real estate professional, because my real estate investments were a spin-off of that. They say invest in what you know, and so I invested in real estate, having been a real estate professional, because that's what I advise my clients on, and so. I got into real estate in 2016. I got my real estate license. In Canada, let's start there. So getting your real estate license, right?
That's a good point.
I can only speak to, of course, the British Columbia market and getting a real estate license there. At the time in 2016, there was a total of, I believe, 16,000 real estate professionals, licensed real estate professionals in the lower mainland, which is Vancouver and the Metro Vancouver area, Greater Vancouver, which is Vancouver and its suburbs. 16,000 real estate professionals. The market was really hot, so the barriers to entry in real estate are quite low, and everybody believes that it's easy to make a fast buck in real estate. Of course, that's not the case, but we'll get to that. It's a tough business, and only so many peas make it to only so many peas in the pod make it to the top. So I believe it's much more difficult getting your real estate license in Canada than it is in Dubai. In Dubai, it's really quite easy, from what I understand. So the barrier to access is even lower. In Canada, I had to take a 6-month real estate course in order to have a sufficient understanding to pass the exam, the real estate exam. And the exam is a written exam in an examination hall at a university, the University of British Columbia, Sauder School of Business. So whereas in Dubai, it's you just do the exam over the portal online, right. So getting license is much more difficult there. And then, once you are licensed, you're licensed under as an individual. So in Dubai, you can get your real estate license. You have to be employed by a real estate brokerage office.
Right.
In Canada, you're licensed as an individual, and you join a real estate brokerage office for liability reasons, because they cover you in terms of liability. There's a managing broker that kind of guides you and gives you any support and assistance that you might need. In terms of conveyancing, the real estate office takes care of conveyancing and things like that. But the model in Canada is that the agent is basically hiring the real estate brokerage. So the agent pays the brokerage, not the other way around.
Interesting.
Yeah. Whereas in Dubai, you're employed by the brokerage, and I understand why. Because in the visa, for example, right, a company has to sponsor you and give you a visa, give you your health insurance. So it's a different dynamic, and so it cannot be structured any other way, unless I can't think of how else it could be structured.
So, but then if the agent is paying money to the brokerage in Canada, how are they earning, and what kind of amount are they paying to the company, and what's their return on it?
So different brokerage offices have different models, but traditionally new agents usually go into a split, which is a 30-70 split or a 40-60 split, whatever it may be, similar to here. And then more experienced agents pay a flat fee, an office fee or a desk fee or whatever it is, and they keep 100% of their commission. So the brokerage office basically
essentially leasing space.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean...
But that would mean that not much support is to be provided by the company. The agent is an independent operator.
Essentially, you're a sole proprietor. You're an independent operator. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. The agency does... because how else are they going to incentivize you to join their company as opposed to another company? They have to give you value. So the conveyancing is obviously covered. There's a conveyancing department traditionally in every real estate brokerage office.
Similar to Dubai.
Yes. They will offer you training. You have access to a managing broker who basically is like a director of sales. He steps in and supports you if you need support. I mean, but you kind of have to go and ask for that. Like, so if you need some guidance. And here's another thing is, in Canada, real estate agents were basically like, we were quasi lawyers. We would draft up our own real estate contracts. So a competent real estate agent is well versed in real estate contracts and how to draft up airtight legal clauses to protect their buyer or their seller. No two deals are the same, right? This. Every transaction has its new set of nuances and challenges, and so you draft up. You have to be creative. You have to creatively problem solve. Like, how can I put this deal together and ensure that my client, who I have a fiduciary duty to, is protected in this transaction. And then you have to draft up new clauses to protect the buyer or the seller, whoever you represent. So whereas in Dubai, that's not really the case. It's pretty straightforward. Drafting up a real estate contract is quite straightforward. I mean, there are a couple of clauses here and there, but it's much less sophisticated, I think, than in the Canadian market. So it's easier being a real estate agent here, I think.
What are the income levels? Like in Canada, if you're a real estate agent who has maybe, let's say, a year or two of experience, like on average, what kind of income would an agent be generating every month? And you've also been on the side of a business owner, right? And
yes.
What kind of income would a business owner be generating every month from this particular business?
In Canada.
Yes.
So, as I said, a lot of people get into the business thinking you're gonna be rolling around in cash like overnight, and clients are just lining up to work with you and give you their money, the hard-earned money. It doesn't work like that in real estate, whether it's in Dubai, whether it's in Vancouver or Toronto or any market. You really have to earn your keep, and you have to show value to the clients, because real estate markets are generally very competitive. As I said, low barrier to entry, so a lot of people get into the business, and so you're up against a lot of competition. How do you distinguish yourself from all these other agents who are fighting for a piece of the pie, right? So you have to give real compelling value, and you have to distinguish yourself in some way, and you have to get in front of your clients. So a lot of agents get into the business and don't make it. They might do bang out a deal here, bang out a deal there, but it's not enough, because there are a lot of expenses. As I told you, in Canada, you have to pay for your board fees and the real estate council fees and your errors and emissions insurance. This is all paid for by the agent. So you have monthly and annual overhead and fees to the agent, the brokerage office. So whether you're doing deals or you're not doing deals, you've got bills. You've got business overhead, right? Operational costs that are there whether you're doing deals or not. And so if you don't have sufficient sufficient cash runway, you're not going to make it.
So what's the magic number then? What's the kind of income that they're generating on an average, based on your experience?
An average or a so-so agent will make like $20,000-$30,000 a year, which is nothing.
A year?
Yeah. $20,000-$30,000 a year. Like I said, they'll bang out a deal here. They'll do like one or two small deals every couple of months, every 2-3 months.
Probably what some of the agents in Dubai must be making in a month or a week.
Yeah, well, but then top performing agents can be making like $200,000-$300,000 a month.
Right. Okay.
$200,000-$300,000 a month,
in
or
Canada.
even more than that. Yeah,
In Canada.
yeah.
Okay. But
So,
that's a minority.
It's a
very small portion.
It really varies. It depends on the caliber of the agent. It's a derivative of sales volume at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And it's very, very hard to make a blanket statement about how much agents can earn, because it's really, why do you get into real estate? Because there's no ceiling,
Right.
right? You're in business for yourself, and
Right.
you earn as much as as much as you put in the work.
It's
right?
a product of your effort, basically.
Precisely.
Whatever effort you put in, you reap the results of
Precisely. Yeah. Whether it's here, or whether it's in Canada or anywhere else, it's sales, and it's. Although I don't like to say sales, because I don't believe we're salespeople. I believe we're advisors to our clients, right?
Yeah,
Consultants, advisors, like lawyers or CPAs. But in the sense that it's a commission-based business, it's sales. So you earn as much as you want to, but you just got to put in the work, and you got to figure out the formula. And so that's a big one. And a lot of agents don't succeed in this business because they weren't given the blueprint for success. They didn't get the right training or the right mentorship early on. And as I said, I owe my success in real estate to the training, the sales mentorship and coaching that I got early on. Had I not gotten that, I probably wouldn't have achieved the success. Maybe I would have fallen out of the business. I don't know, because it's tough. It's very, very financially exhausting and emotionally exhausting when you're putting in the work, but you're not getting the results. It's because you're barking up the wrong tree. You're doing a lot of work, but you're not doing the right work, right? So, and that's why I'm with Rise Up, and that's basically what I do for the team here, right? Is I don't spoon feed the agents, but I give them the direction to run it. You've got to be self-driven. You got to do the work, but you need someone to guide you and tell you, what should I be doing?
Right.
Right.
Now, talking a bit about from a perspective of a buyer. So, what was the experience like when you were an investor in Canada, and what was the difference in your experience as an investor in Dubai, as a direct buyer into the properties over there?
Right. So, I'm just trying to think through how it all happened chronologically. I purchased my first property, which was a principal residence, and then within 6 months, I converted that into a rental income property, and then went on and bought another. So you've got it, because of the tax laws in Canada, you've got to be much more intentional about how you structure your real estate acquisitions and build your portfolio, because you have to take into account, tax efficiencies, and how do you let. It's much more sophisticated, I think. Whereas in Dubai, you don't have that whole layer of, how do I maneuver through the tax system, so it doesn't eat into all my earning potential or my ROI.
But is that something you have to do during your purchase stage?
Well, of course, because there are tax implications at every point, right?
Okay.
As I told you, there's taxes on taxes on taxes. So, and it compounds.
Right.
So you have to take that into account at every stage. When you're purchasing a property, for example, in Canada, you have a first-time buyer's incentive. And the laws are changing constantly, but as a first-time buyer, you have certain credits, tax credits, and rebates and whatnot. So, you want to be able to avail of these benefits that the government gives you. So, and then, of course, when you're offloading property, you think about capital gains tax. and how do you offload the property efficiently. And so you have to consult, and if you have a portfolio, you have to consult with your lawyer about what the best way to do it. And if you have a rental income property, for example, if it was initially a principal residence and then you converted it into a rental income property, there's a formula for how you're taxed on, because principal residence, you don't pay capital gains if you sell.
So many things to think about.
Exactly.
So
That's
many
my
things
point.
to
That's
think
my
about
point.
Buying a property.
There's so many
In addition to deciding what to buy.
Precisely. It's so many moving parts. So what the strategy I did was, you buy a property, I live in it for a period of time so that it is defined under the tax law as a principal residence, and then I convert it into a rental income property. So then I have the flexibility of not, if I was to offload it within a specified period of time, I don't pay capital gains on it. Anyway, point being, it's much, much more complicated, and there are many more variables to consider. And if you're talking cash flowing properties, it's not a thing in Canada. No property will cash flow, at least not from 2016 onward. Rental income, rent relative to property value, you'll be lucky if you break even.
But would you say that's the case maybe in central Toronto? But what about if you go into the outskirts?
Not Toronto, in Vancouver.
Okay,
I can't speak to the. I can speak to the Toronto market, because you will not break even in that Ontario GTA region.
You're saying predominant buyers in the Canadian real estate market are either end users or probably playing the capital gains.
That's the play.
That's their target.
That's
basically.
the play. The play is again, tax efficiencies, because owning real estate has certain tax efficiencies, and your capital gains. So the market is 2016 up until, and of course there were a few dips in the journey, but from 2016 up until 2023, the market was growing exponentially, right? Until interest rates, the market there is much more sensitive to the interest rate, because
Right.
everybody is a mortgage buyer.
Right.
Nobody's a cash buyer like here. So, the lending environment, buyers are naturally much more sensitive to the interest rate. Whereas Dubai, less so.
What was the experience then? Let's say buying a property in Dubai, which you did quite recently, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
What was the difference there?
Oh man, it was a piece of cake. All you got to do is identify the right opportunity. I purchased the property, and it's an entry-level price point, because I'm just getting back into the real estate market here, so it was. Man, it was like buying a shirt at the mall. Like it couldn't have been easier, right? There's not much you have to consider. Like, even if you want to calculate, the feasibility of the ROI on your purchase, on your investment, I should say. There's really not much to it. It's a simple calculation. It's property value plus all the closing costs, 7%, and then your gross ROI is, you basically deduct what's your rental income annually, deduct your service charges, and there's not much more to it. Like, there are a lot of things you'd have to consider investing in real estate in Canada versus here. It's a very easy, and here everything cash flows. Anywhere from 6 to 10%, sometimes more. Which is brilliant, right? Yeah, cool. So when you're looking at your internal rate of return, your blended ROI, which is rental income plus your capital growth, you're easily doing more than 10% annually.
Oh yeah,
very
definitely.
easily, right? And this is on a cash purchase. This is on a cash purchase. But if you're talking about leveraging debt and you're buying on mortgage, well then you should calculate your cash on cash returns. How much equity do you have? How much cash did you put in? And how much are you getting out every year?
Then the numbers are beautiful.
Then the numbers are crazy, right? Because one more thing you have to consider when you're calculating your ROI is your debt servicing cost. Right. So just deduct that, but you're still probably going to make some crazy returns. I don't think any other investment vehicle is going to give you these kinds of returns.
Is it only positive, everything positive because you're in the business of real estate?
No, I'm a skeptical investor. I think you always have to take, you have to do your due diligence,
Yeah.
right? And if you're entrusting, and when you entrust a real estate agent, you want to know that agent's giving you the right advice, and he's not just trying to push something on you. He's an agent, not a salesman, right? And I think that's our philosophy here at Rise Up, right? I mean, I built my business in Canada. My business was predominantly repeat and referral business. I spent very, very little on marketing. And the reason that was the case was because I truly, I and my agents all served our clients, and this was our philosophy to doing business. You're certainly not going to come back to me and use me again for your future real estate purchases and sales if I didn't do a damn good job for you. And I wasn't, I didn't do it with integrity, and I wasn't looking out for your best interests, and I just wanted to do a deal. And you're certainly not going to refer friends and family to me.
Obviously
right?
not. Obviously not. That's not going to happen.
And I think that's that's the big thing that distinguishes these agents who can scale their business and really, really excel in real estates as a real estate agents, versus those who fizzle out quickly. They might because you cannot scale. If you're cold calling people and trying to build your business that way, I mean, you can't scale that. There's only so many hours in a day, right? You're just doing deals, transacting, and then you buy a property for your client, and then poof, you disappear. You're never there for them. I mean, well, why would you do that? But every client is worth at least, the lifetime value of a client is at least 15 to 20 transactions if you take into account their future transactions and the transactions of people they may refer to you.
That's an interesting number. Never thought of it that way. 15 to 20. So if you have 100 odd clients, that's a huge number.
Right. So rather than putting all this money, investing all this money in marketing, trying to generate cold or warm leads, serve those clients who are your biggest advocates, who you have a solid, strong relationship with, and who you've proven to that you can do great. You've done great work for them, and they'll be your biggest advocates, right? But you've just got to remind them,
right,
that you did a great job with them, because people forget. People are busy, right? A lot of your clients, may recognize that you did a great job for them, but you need to check in with them and just remind them, hey, remember me? I did a great job for you. Your investment. Send them this is advice for real estate agents. Reach out to your clients every 3 to 6 months, your past clients, and give them value. Tell them like, oh, the property you purchased, here's a quick report, or comparative analysis of, your property was this much when you purchased it. Today, it's worth this much. I mean, every client would love to receive that kind of valuable information from their agent. And it's a breath of fresh air, because agents here don't do that. Right?
So following through on what you just said, and this is probably going to be my last question in the interest of time.
Sure.
Based on your own personal experience, what are the top 3 things you would advise or guide new agents who are entering the Dubai real estate market on? I mean, I'm talking about people who've never worked in this particular region, who've not done real estate business, probably done real estate business in another part of the world. If they're thinking about moving to Dubai, getting into the real estate field, what are the top 3 pointers you would guide them on, so they're prepared for this?
That's a great question, man.
All my questions are great questions. You know that. I only deal in great questions.
You're a brilliant man.
Thank you.
I think the first one is, because the Dubai real estate is hyper competitive. How many agents do we have in Dubai now across Dubai alone?
I don't know.
What's the official number?
I think we're going to have to check on
it's
that.
in the tens of thousands. Dubai is geographically a pretty small place.
Easy,
right? You have to have really, really thick skin.
And by the way, some great agents. Some excellent agents. You call them property advisors, property consultants.
Right.
Some of the best in the business. So
So you're up against
shocks,
a lot of competition, It's dog eat dog.
Yeah.
It really is. There are a lot of, how else do I put it, Mickey Mouse
Yeah.
real estate agents in this market, right? Who will, try to undercut you, and some more price sensitive clients might, get advice from you and then go and get a kickback from the other agent, whatever.
Yeah.
So, you have to accept that that's part of the market dynamic. These agents, and kickbacks are illegal, but
Part
it's
and
still
parcel.
part and parcel of the
Yeah.
business. I hate to say it, but you've got to reinforce your value to your clients
Right.
and work with those clients who recognize and appreciate your value. Right? Don't. That's part of your job as a real estate agent, is to be able to distinguish which clients you should invest your time and energy in and which ones you should not. Right? You shouldn't be a yes man in this business. Clients don't respect someone like that. If you don't have a backbone,
Basically filtering your clients. Well,
Yes.
understanding who to focus on. And okay.
yeah. So identify the clients who align with you and your values, right? Nobody can please everyone, right? You have to find your tribe,
Right.
right?
So that's one point.
Yeah. You have to be thick-skinned,
Okay.
right? But that's also
I think you mentioned that.
yeah,
You
that's
mentioned
standard
that, yeah.
across all markets.
Yeah.
Water off a duck's back. You have to be very comfortable with rejection.
Okay.
Um,
Anything else that you feel is important for someone stepping into this field,
specifically in Dubai,
specifically in Dubai, UAE, within this particular region?
well, I mean, every market is unique, right? And times have changed, right? All information is now available online. Once upon a time, real estate agents were the gatekeepers of, listing information and market data, but now all of this information is public information. It's all online, right? And now we have AI. AI is, I'm afraid to say it, but I think AI is
Game
smarter
changer.
than me. It's a
Game
game changer, right?
I don't doubt that. I
A
don't doubt
client
that at all.
can do like an analysis and can ask AI all kinds of questions
Yeah.
and come up with better answers than
Yeah.
most of us. So you have to give value beyond just passing on information.
Yeah.
A lot of clients are, I hear this often, clients are bitter, like, all these real estate agents make so much money in this market. What do? They just open the door for us and they send us listing information. Well, be more than that then,
Yeah.
right? Don't just open doors and don't just relay, information that's publicly available online. But the client can just go, listing portals have all the information there. DXB Interact or Bayut has all the market data, right? So don't just pass on this information that's there. Give more value than that, right? Take this data and help tell a story with it and help interpret it in a way that can help your client make a well-informed decision. Help think strategically for your client and find them opportunities that align with their, whether it's an investor, their investment goals. And the part of, in order to be able to do that, you have to be a really, really good listener. So, as you know, being successful in real estate is having really strong communication skills. I think one of the most critical things in being a strong communicator that people don't, that maybe we don't hear about often, is not actually communicating, but listening.
Yeah.
It's the most critical skill you can acquire. And I'm afraid not enough people practice active listening.
So someone said this, and it's a very famous quote. I don't know who said this, but I'm quoting someone else. It's not something that
Probably quoting yourself, because you
maybe
say brilliant
it could
things
be.
all the time.
It could be.
Yeah.
But someone said that every time you say something,
Yeah.
you're only repeating what you already know.
Mhm.
But every time you listen something, you're actually learning something new. You see? So it makes sense.
100%.
Basically, it's very important to listen to your clients. It's very important to listen to your colleagues, because every time you listen to someone else, you're getting their side of the story. You're learning something new. You're absorbing information. You're taking in a lot of knowledge. How you use it, which way you use it, where you use it is completely up to you to decide.
Right.
But yeah, 100% agree. And I think be it real estate business or any kind of business, communication is key. Be it with the stakeholders, be it with your team members, or be it with your clients. without clear communication, there's no clear direction. But Ali, thanks for making it finally onto our podcast.
Yeah,
it's been
pleasure,
a pleasure
man.
having you.
Pleasure.
It's really interesting that this is the first time you said you're doing this for the very first time. Before we were starting off this podcast, Arvind mentioned that let's just do a test run.
Yeah.
So I presume that we're going to start and come back in 5 minutes, be like, no, not this, no, not this, let's cut this, let's do it again, and go through 3-4 trials. But we just click play and we've been continuously speaking and we are coming to the end of the podcast at a single stretch. So it seems like you're a natural, man.
Very casual, candid conversation. Thank you, man.
I don't know if you were trying to be modest by saying that this is the first time you've done it. So underplay yourself, or if you're being genuine, it's difficult to say with you sometimes.
Yeah, I'm just a shark. I just pretend like, like a pool shark.
So you're in the right place. You're in the right place, you're in the right business. But
cool, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, Ali coming from the Canadian, North American real estate market, being an investor, being a business owner, being a realtor, if there are any other questions that you want answers to, please drop them below in the comments, and those are the ones we'll touch upon during our next podcast.
Absolutely. And I'm oddly comfortable in front of the camera, actually, so we should do more of these.
You're natural, yeah, definitely.
Oh, thank you.
You'll be seeing a lot more of this.
You're too kind. Okay, awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ali. That was a good one, man.
Yeah,
that was brilliant. That was really good.